Hello everyone, this is Keith from the Solo Gamers Club, and welcome to my channel. Tonight, I'll travel back to the Middle Ages as I take on the role of a patriarch trying to guide his household to become the most prestigious family in a medieval German village, as we learn to set up and play Village. Now this is the big box version of Village. It was designed by Enka and Marcus Brand, and it's produced by Eggertspiele. The big box version comes with all of the available expansions and promo cards that have been issued for the game. These include the Inn, the Port, Marriage, Life Goals, and Village card expansions. But tonight's video, I will be concentrating only on the base game elements. I will cover the expansions in a future video. I'll begin with a quick overview of the components along with the setup for the dedicated solo system. The board is double-sided. One side has the Village board, which is denoted with the Village symbols in the corners. The reverse side is the Port expansion board, which is denoted by anchor symbols in the four corners of the board. For this game, we'll be using the Village side of the map. Next, we're going to choose a color and we'll take the corresponding farmyard. I've chosen to select the red components. So we're going to begin with 4 first level meeples, 1 gold coin, 6 roundels, and our time tracker. We will also, since we're playing the solo rules, we will always be the first player. Our farmyard is where most of the family actions will occur. We have spaces to collect our coins, tokens, and influence cubes. We also will store our active family members and have space for our grain storage. We can store up to 5 units of grain. As we perform actions on the board, our time tracker is going to advance along the track. And whenever it crosses the quill mark, one of our family members has died. Our second, third, and fourth generation meeples are placed above the display. They're not born yet, and they can come into the game after we take a family action on the board. And again, our life track will start on the space to the right of the quill. Then we place one of our roundels on the 0 space of the victory point track. Next, we're going to shuffle our customer tiles and place them near the board. And then we're going to populate the market according to the player count. As this is a solo game, we'll be setting up for a 2-player game. In this case, we populate all the spaces on the market except for those marked 3 to 5 and 4 to 5. Now at the market, when we take a market action, we're able to service the 3 clients that have the blue borders around them. And if we're able to fulfill that contract, we gain that many victory points. These in the brown borders are future clients that will be moving into the queue. Next, we're going to prepare our Village Chronicle and the graveyard. When our family members pass away, we would like to have them entered into the Village Chronicle. Depending upon how many members we have on the Chronicle determines how many victory points we get. Now to prepare the board, since this is a 2-player game, we're going to be filling up all of these spaces for 3 to 5, 4 to 5, and 5 players with neutral meeples. Now when either the Chronicle or the Village Graveyard is filled, that will enact the end of the game. Now when a family member passes away, and if there's no room left in the Chronicle for that location where the member passes away, they're going to go to a plot in the graveyard at the church. The game will begin with the 3 to 5, 4 to 5, and 5 player spots already filled. The starting player marker, the ring, is placed at the council chambers. In a solo game, the ring will function as a gold coin instead of being the first player, because we will always be the first player in a solo game. Our goods tiles consist of wagons, horses, plows, oxen, and scrolls. We set those aside and form a general pool. In addition, we place our gold coins, grain, influence cubes, and 6 plague tokens into a general supply. Then we place 4 black monk tokens into the black mass bag. The green bag will hold our influence cubes. Then we take the game setup card and mass overview card and return the others to the box. These are set according to the number of players. Since we're setting up for a 2-player game, we'll be using the 2-player general setup and the 1-player card for the church. As this is a solo game, we will always be the first player, so we gain our first player token. Our opponent in the game is the family of Carla Edelberg, our biggest rival from our childhood days. They have only one goal: to become the most prominent family in the village. We place Carla's board next to our farm. As we are not playing with expansions, we're going to cover up the unavailable actions with wooden discs. So we'll cover up the inn, marriage, and port actions on her board. We're going to select a color for Carla. In this case, I've chosen the purple tokens. And she's going to get a total of 11 tokens, just as we do, but she's only going to gain 1 roundel. Her level 1 and level 2 meeples will be placed near her display. Her generation 3 and 4 meeples will be placed in the church. Then as a reminder, we're going to place her roundel near the first customer, and that will remind us that she's going to be trying to take that first customer. Then we have to set up Carla's fate tiles. There'll be 2 sets of 3 tokens each. One has a quill and the other 2 are blank. We're going to invert those, and then we're going to randomize them, and then we're going to place them 3 on the bottom and 3 on the top. Those tokens will control when Carla's family members will pass away. Carla is going to be placing influence cubes on the slots, and then as soon as we place an influence cube that crosses one of those fate tokens, we're going to flip it over and find out if one of her family members passes away. And that's the setup for the solitaire version of the game. Solitaire version plays very similar to the standard game. Phase 1 of the game, we're going to be seeding the action spaces on the board with influence cubes. Phase 2, we're going to be taking cubes and performing actions. And then Phase 3 will be the end of the round. At the end of the round, we will conduct a mass, and that will determine if any of our family members become influential in the church. We'll begin the first turn with Phase 1, and we're going to seed the action spaces. We consult our setup card, and along the left side of the card, it will list the color of cubes that we're going to be placing into the green draw bag. The color of the influence cube tells you the attribute that it represents. Orange cubes represent skill and are useful in crafting and travel. Green cubes are persuasiveness. That's useful at the market and council chamber. Brown cubes are faith, and that's useful for church and travel. And pink cubes are knowledge, and that's useful in crafts and travel. Black cubes are plague cubes, and those will reduce the lifespan of our family members. We're occasionally forced to draw those. Now on the right side of the setup card tells us the number of cubes that we're going to randomly draw from the bag and place in those positions around the map. You'll notice that we're going to be adding 20 cubes into the bag, but only 18 are going to be placed out on the board, so there will always be some cubes left over in the bag. So we're going to gather up the number of cubes listed on the left side of the card. 3 pink, 4 green, 3 orange, 4 brown, and 6 black. And we're going to place those in the bag. Now that our draw bag is filled, we're going to consult the setup card again. And now on the right side of the card, we're going to populate each region on the board with the number of cubes listed. So at the market, we're going to draw 1 cube and place that there. That's a pink. In the crafting area, we're going to draw 5. We've got 3 brown and 2 orange. In the travel area, we'll place 2. That's 2 black, 2 play cubes. At the town hall, we'll place 2. Green and a black. We'll place 2 in the harvest area. Green and a black. 3 in our family area. Green, orange, and black. And 3 more in the church. Pink, black, and brown. Now the object of the game is for us to earn as many victory points as possible. We can earn victory points in several ways. Now at the church, if we can get our family members into the church and promote them, we're going to gain the victory points listed for each family member that we have in that slot. Now in order to take an action at a location, the first step is we have to be able to draw a cube from that activation location. So in the case of the church, we would have the choice of a pink, brown, or black cube. Take one of those and we would place that at our farmyard for future use. Then once we have done that, we can either spend 3 time or a brown cube to place one of our family members into the black draw bag, and that would be eligible to be promoted into the church. Another area is the crafting area. And here we have several buildings that will allow us to produce products. First is the stables, and that would allow us to gain either a horse or an oxen in 2 different ways. We can either pay 3 time and place one of our family members to learn that trade, and then we could either spend 3 more time to generate either a horse or an oxen, or we can pay 3 grain and get us the same result but without spending the time. Another location is the office. We can spend 2 time to train a member, and then he would be able to either spend 2 time to create a scroll or a pink cube to create a scroll. Then we have the mill. We don't place any family members there, but we're able to, at a cost of 2 grain and 2 time, we can produce 2 coins. And the coins are kind of a universal commodity. It can be used in place of any colored cube. We can also use it for influence at the church or at the council chamber, where we can pay coins to gain influence. Another location is the Wainwright. We could place a family member for 2 time and train him as a Wainwright. Then he can either spend 2 time to create a wagon, or we can spend a orange or pink cube to do the same. And finally, we have the smithy. We can spend 3 time to train a family member, and then 3 time to either produce a plow or a orange and pink cube to produce a plow with no time. Another location is the market. At the market, we can attempt to service some of these clients that are there. If we're able to fulfill their need, we would gain that number of victory points. When a tile is taken, the other tiles will move up and new tiles will come out on the board. Another action is the travel action. If we're able to pay the cost to travel, we can reach a city. When we get to a city, we'll place our family member there plus a colored roundel, and we're going to gain the benefit listed. Instantly gain 3 victory points, or instantly gain 3 victory points. And as our family members are placed into the travel area, additional travel actions can be taken by paying the cost and then moving that meeple to another location and gaining another benefit. And this is a great way to, if we have enough meeples in that travel area, we can earn lots of victory points. If we had, say, 6 family members on this board, we'd gain 18 victory points. Another action space is the council chambers. And we can get our family members in there for either a cost of 1 time and either a scroll or 2 green influence cubes. That would gain us the benefit listed below. And once we have a family member there, we can advance them in their career by paying the cost, and that would generate the benefit and victory points at the end of the game. Then we have the harvest action. If we take a cube from the harvest area, we're able to produce 2 bags of grain. In order to take the harvest action, we have to have at least 1 family member at our farmyard, and if we have a horse and plow, we would gain an extra bag of grain, or an ox and a plow would gain us 2 extra. We have a total of 5 grain storage capacity. Then we have our family section on the board. This area gives us 2 different choices. If we take a cube, we can bring another family member in from the next generation and add that to our farmyard. So if we had all of our first generation characters, we would draw a second generation character and add that to the farmyard. Another option is if we take this action, instead of producing a new family member, we can move a family member from any space on the board back to our farmyard. And our last action space is the well. If we turn in 3 cubes of the same color, we can take any action on the board. This means that we can take an action where no cubes remain in that area, normally preventing us from taking that action. The only condition is there has to be at least 1 cube left on the board somewhere. Carla's family will take an action after we take our action. What will happen is, as an example, say we took a crafting action and we took a brown cube. After we complete our crafting action, Carla's family will attempt to take a cube of the same color from the same area, and she would add that to her board. Now, in the event that a color cube is no longer in that area, she's going to move through each area in a clockwise fashion and attempt to take a cube from that area of the same color. If there are no cubes left on the board of that color, then she will go back to the original location and we can have her take a cube of any color we choose. Now when she takes an action and takes a cube, we will place that on her board starting with the council chamber. She's going to fill up these slots as we go by, and when we cross a fate token, we're going to flip that over and find out if there's a quill there, and if there is, one of her family members will die and it will go to either the chronicle or the church graveyard. Now when Carla takes a cube from the board, normally she will just simply place that on her display and that would be the end of her turn. However, at the church and at the market, she will actually interact with the game. Carla's family will not collect any gold or victory points or grain or anything else, but in the case of the church or the market, she will be adding family members into in the case of the church, into the black draw bag, and that's going to be a conflict with us attempting to get our people appointed into the church. And at the market, when Carla would draw a cube from the market, she will attempt to take the first customer. She'll just simply take that customer token out, and then we would have our ability to interact at the market, but we have to pay 1 green cube and 1 time in order to do that. Whoever takes the first market action does it for free. There's no cost. Now, if we were to take a market action, we can select any of the available clients that we're able to service, and then Carla would take the next closest token to the first token. Now, whenever a family member dies, we have to select the lowest numbered meeple that we have on the board. Then they are placed either in the chronicle or in the graveyard. Obviously, we want to try to get our family members into the chronicle to earn these victory points. Now, when Carla's family members pass away, they will also attempt to be placed into the chronicle if possible. If the slots were filled up and say her family member passed away at the church, well, there'll be no space for her and it will be placed in the graveyard. So we're always attempting to manipulate the timing of when our family members pass away as opposed to hers. And that's part of the strategy of the game. Now, I'm not an expert on strategy on this game yet, but I'll tell you what I have discovered. Before you take your first turn in the solo game, it's probably a good idea to check the market, and we'll see what the 3 clients that we possibly can service, what they're looking for. In this case, we've got someone wanting a wagon, someone wanting an oxen, and someone wanting a horse. And then those are the values of victory points that that token will be worth once we gain that. So in this case, it looks like we'd probably be best served to try to get some horses. We could sell those at the market. So to produce a horse, we're going to have to interact with the crafting area. And in this case, we would want to be concentrating on the stables. And we have 2 choices here. We can put a family member in there and train as a stable master. And then in the same turn, we can pay an additional 3 time, and then we'd be able to gain either a horse or oxen. Another option is for us to pay 3 grain, and then we can purchase that horse or oxen without having a family member there. So I think what we'll do is we're going to start out by taking a brown influence cube. Brown influence cubes are faith, and that's useful for church or travel. Now, we're not forced into taking an action, but we must take a cube from somewhere on the board. But in this case, we're going to exercise our option at the stable. So we're going to take one of our first generation family members and move them into the stables. We're going to pay 3 time to train him as a stable master. So we'll have to advance our time tracker by 3. 1, 2, and 3. Now when that crosses the quill, one of our family members will pass away. Now, since we have a trained family member at the stables, we can pay another 3 time and then produce a horse or oxen, and I think that's what we're going to do. So that's going to cost us 3 more time, 1, 2, and 3, but we've produced a horse, and we'll add that to our farmyard. Now we've decided to take a brown cube, so we're going to place that brown cube in our farmyard. Our influence cubes are stored along the right side of our display, so we'll place a brown cube in there that we can use for future actions. Now our family member is going to remain at the stables until either he dies or we take a family action to move him back to our farmyard. And then we're able to keep utilizing that same ability, 3 time to produce a horse or oxen. Now Carla will go. Now her first priority is to try to take a cube of the same color that we just took from that location. In this case, there happens to be 2 other brown cubes there. So she's going to take 1 brown cube from that location and place it on her display. So we'll place that brown cube in the slot opposite of the council chamber. And that's going to complete her turn. Now we are eligible to take another action. And I think what we're going to do is we're going to utilize our family member that we have at the stables, and this time we're going to produce an oxen. We know that there is a customer in the market that would wish to purchase an oxen, so we will do that. We begin by taking a cube of the color of our choice. We'll take orange this time. We'll place that on our display. So that will allow us, at the cost of 3 time, to produce the oxen. So we'll move our time token up by 3. 1, 2, and 3. We're 1 short of the quill. And then we're going to add an oxen to our farmyard. Now Carla's turn. She will attempt to take a cube of the same color we just took from that same area. So she's going to select the orange cube. and she'll place it on her display in the next slot available. And that will complete her turn. Now we're up next, and I want to do a couple market actions. So we're going to need some green cubes in order to take more than a single market action. So I'm going to take a family action by selecting a green cube. That will allow us to add a new family member to our farmyard. So we'll place the green cube that we took, and we'll add a second generation family member to our farm. Now it's Carla's turn. Well, there are no green cubes in the family area where we took our cube. So Carla is going to go through a set of procedures to determine which cube she's going to take. So beginning with the family action, we would check each of the locations in order and find out where the next green cube is located. So next in line would be the church. Well, there's no green cube there. Next would be the crafting area. There's none there. Market, none there. Travel area, none there. Finally, we get to the council chamber, and there is a green cube there, so she's going to take the cube from that location. And she's going to place it on her display. Now the next time she places a cube, we're going to be crossing one of those fate tokens, and we're going to flip that over, and that will tell us if one of her family members has passed away. So there's a chance that one of her family members could be added to the chronicle. For my next action, I'm going to select the market action. So we're going to take the pink cube that's located there, and we'll add that to our farmyard. Then we get to try to service one of the clients in the first 3 slots. And in this case, I think what we'll do is we're going to attempt to fulfill this client here. He's looking for a horse, and that's worth 4 victory points. So we'll discard the horse and take that token and add that near our display. Horse will go back to the supply, and then Carla will attempt to take a token as well, and she'll always take the token where her roundel is if possible. That'll be removed from the display, and then all of these will slide down, and then we're going to reveal some new customers. And those are taken from our stack of customer tiles. In this case, we've got 2 scrolls and a plow and some grain. Now, there are no more cubes left in the market area, so we can't take that action. The only way we can take a market action now is to use the well, and we would have to surrender 3 cubes of the same color. Now, we could have taken an additional sale at the market area. It would cost us a green cube and 1 time, and that would allow us to service another client there. Now, we could have sold that oxen that we had and picked up that tile as well. But I'm going to keep that oxen on the farm for the time being. Now we selected a pink cube at the market, so Carla is going to attempt to find a pink cube on the board. She'll take the first one in order. The only pink cube left is the one at the church. So she's going to take that cube, add that to her display, and then one of her family members at the church will be placed into the black mass bag, and that will give her a chance at appointing a family member to the church council. So we place that pink cube on her display. Now we've crossed over one of her fate tokens, so we're going to flip that over and see if there's a quill there. And if there is, her family member has died. And no, that hasn't happened. So we'll place that off to the side to let us note that we have inspected that. Now for our next action, I'm going to select a black plague cube at the church. And you'll say, well, why would you take a black plague cube? Well, in this case, we kind of want a family member to pass away, so we can place them on the chronicle. So what we do is we follow the instructions at the church. Now we've selected the black plague cube. That's going to advance our life track by 2 spaces. And what we're going to do is we're going to place one of our meeples and spend 3 time to place that meeple into the draw bag, the black mass bag. So we're going to select this second generation member to become part of the church. So we have to advance our life track by 2 because we took a plague token. And then also 3 time because we were placing a meeple at the church. So we'll advance that 3 more. And that means one of our family members has passed away. We have to select a first generation family member from anywhere on the board. And depending upon where we select it, that is where it's going to go into the chronicle. In this case, I'm going to select a first generation family member from our farm. So consulting the family chronicle, we've selected a family member from our farmyard. So that means we can place them in any of these farmyard areas, and we'll add our family member to the chronicle. And this is where the strategy in the solo game kind of kicks in. We're going to have to try to predict where Carla's family members are going to be added to this, and we want to get into those slots before she does. And the travel action and the council chamber only have 1 slot in there, so we want to try to preempt her from taking those spots if possible. Now we selected a black cube, so that's going to be placed just into the supply. Carla is going to attempt to take a black cube from the church. Well, there aren't any. So she's going to go in order from there, clockwise, seeking out a black cube. And the first one that we come to is a black cube from the travel area. We're going to add that to her display. So we'll add that black cube to her display, and she's crossed one of the fate tiles. So we'll have to flip that over and see if that is a quill. If it is, a family member will die. It is not. So we'll push that off to the side. So we know that this is going to be a quill. The next cube that she adds, one of her family members will die. Now for my next action, I think I'm going to take another family action. This time we're going to take an orange cube from there, and that will allow us to produce another second generation family member. So we'll add that orange cube to our display, and then a second generation family member comes into the farm. Now Carla would have to take an orange cube from the family section. Well, there are none there. And if we examine the board, we find out that there are no orange cubes anywhere on the board. So if there are no cubes on the board of the color selected, we can select any token or any cube in that location for Carla to take. In this case, it'll be a black plague cube. So Carla will place that black plague cube on her display, and that's going to force us to reveal this fate token, and that one is a quill. So one of Carla's family members has passed away, and that occurred at the farmyard. So we're going to place one of her level 1 tokens in the chronicle at the farmyard. So we'll place her family member into the chronicle at the farmyard. There's 1 space available for us or her. Now in the event that all of those were filled up, Carla's family member would go to the graveyard at the church, and you don't receive any benefit for that. Now for our next action, I'm going to select a brown cube at the church. Now the family member that we put in to the church in the last round or so, that should have gone into the black bag, so we'll place that one into the black bag. But now we're going to add another family member there, so we're going to select another family member from our farmyard and move that to the church. And I'm going to select a level 2nd generation family member. They'll be around a little bit longer, and we might be able to score more victory points that way. Now we have to either pay 3 time or a brown cube. And I think in this case, we'll pay the 3 time. So we'll move our time marker up 3, and then we're going to add that family member into the black mass bag. Now there were no brown cubes at the church, so she's going to have to go into the next area clockwise, see if there's a brown cube, and there is. There's one at the crafting area, so we'll give that to Carla's family. So we'll add that cube into the next available space. And incidentally, since we have revealed the 3 fate tokens, we're going to shuffle those up and place them back on the display. And we only do that for the area that was already revealed, and we wait until all 3 of those tokens have been revealed. Even if the first token was a quill, we still have to wait until the other 2 are revealed, and then we would randomize them and put them back on the board. I think for our next action, we're going to select a green cube from the harvest area. In order to conduct the harvest action, we have to have at least 1 family member at the farmyard. And we do. So we're going to add that cube we just took into our collection. And then, following the instructions, we can gain 2 bags of grain. Now we have an oxen, but we don't have a plow. If we did, we'd be able to gain 2 extra grain. So we'll place the 2 bags of grain that we collected at our farmyard. Now we selected a green cube from our harvest area. Well, there are no more green cubes left on the board. So that means that Carla is going to select the cube of our choice from the region that we used in the turn. In this case, she'll take the black cube and add that to her board. So we'll add the cube to Carla's board, and she's getting close to another fate token. And we're up next, and I'm going to select this play cube at the council chamber. And that will allow us, at a cost of 1 time, we can place 1 of our meeples there, but we're going to have to spend either a scroll or 2 green influence cubes. And I'm going to select the 2 green influence cubes. So we'll pay the 2 green influence cubes and place 1 of our family members at the council chamber. That's going to give us the ring. That ring can be used as a gold coin during this turn only, though. We'll place that on our display. Now, as we took a play cube, we have to advance our timer by 2. So we're 1 short of losing another family member. Carla will attempt to take a black cube from the council chamber, but there are none there. So she'll take the next available play cube that we have on the board. And there's only 1 left, and that's in the travel area. So she'll take that one and add that to her board. So we'll place that cube on her board, and that crossed a fate token, so we'll have to investigate that, and we'll see if a family member of hers passed away. No, did not. All right, now that is the last of the cubes on the board. So at the end of the round, we start with a mass, and that consists of 3 steps. We're going to be drawing 4 pieces out of the black bag. We're going to move family members up into the church hierarchy, and then we will award prestige points for the church majority. So we're going to consult our mass card, and the first step is step 1A. We can spend 1 gold coin, and that would guarantee that we're going to be able to draw 1 of our family members out of the bag before the 4 are selected. Now, we acquired that ring from the council chamber. We can use that as a gold to pay for that. So that's what we're going to do. So we're going to draw 1 of our family members from the bag and place them out on the display. Next, we're going to draw 4 tokens from the bag and see if other members come out. Here's 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay. So, all those family members will go into that first slot. The 2 monks will go back into the bag. You might have family members in the black bag over the turn. It's possible. Next, we can spend bags of grain to advance our family members on the track to get them in the higher part of the hierarchy. So to advance 1 of our family members to the next level, we can spend either grain or bread. Bread happens when we have one of the expansions, and then we'd be able to move that member up to the next level of hierarchy and gain more victory points. So I think we'll do that. I'm going to spend 1 bag of grain and we'll move one of our family members up to the next level. And then we determine who has the most family members in the hierarchy. And in our case, it's the red. So we're going to gain 2 prestige points. So we'll move our victory track marker up to 2. Next, we remove all of the cubes on Carla's display except the last one that was placed. So this one will remain where it is. All these other cubes will go back into the supply and we'll use those as a part of refilling the bag. So then we restock our bag using the tokens listed. We take those from the supply, and if we're supposed to have 6 play cubes. Well, there's only 5 available. There must be 1 left in the bag, or 1 on her display, and that's the case. There's 1 black there. So we place as many of those as possible, and we refill our green bag for the next turn. Then we would repopulate the board as we did in the beginning of this first turn, and we keep playing until either the chronicle is filled or the church cemetery is filled. If either of those conditions happen, then we're going to add up all of our victory points, and then we will check that versus a table on the solo chart. It says achieved prestige points. Between 0 and 39 is apprentice, 40 to 49 is journeyman, 50 to 59 is master, 60 to 69 is grandmaster, 70 to 79 is genius, and 80 or above is polymath. And so that's how the game plays. And a lot of strategy involved, especially with Carla's board, when we're trying to anticipate when her family members are going to pass and where they pass, and then that would be directly affected by where they're going to go on the Chronicles board. We want to obviously fill up that Chronicle board and not have her family members there so we can gain those victory points. And victory points are primarily earned, a lot of them will be earned in the market. Occasionally we'll be able to get some from travel, and occasionally some from the common house, and finally at the church. And these numbers are for each member of the family we have in that location. So as you can see, it's a lot of planning in this game, and I think it's actually quite good. The solo system for the game works very well. And so that is Village, the big box version. In the future, I'm going to be doing a full playthrough using the solo system, and we'll probably add in 1 or 2 of the expansions. So in closing, I hope you enjoyed this preview of Village, the big box. And I'd like to invite you back to the channel for future videos. In the meantime, this is Keith from the Solo Gamers Club, signing off and wishing everyone a pleasant evening. Good night.